I was in the Eras Tour documentary, guys. The final episode of The End of an Era is here, and your girl made a special appearance about midway through the episode. I'm so excited to recap this episode for you and give you the full story time on how they used my TikTok video and just what an incredible docuseries this has been, what we've learned about the tour and about Taylor. This has been so revealing and candid. I'm so excited. Let's get into it.
Welcome to Swiftly Sung Stories, where we unpack the Taylor Swift universe one era, album, and lyric at a time. Think of it like English class, but it's all Taylor Swift and none of the boring stuff. I'm Jen, your Swiftie English teacher, and class is in session, so come on in and meet me in the margins.
So let's start with the story time about how I was featured in episode 6 of The End of an Era, and then we'll go straight into the recap. So about 6 months ago, I was contacted by a producer through my website, swiftlysungstories.com, who asked if she could license one of my TikTok videos for a documentary about music tours and what they mean to fans. Now, I was surprised by this because it wasn't a viral video, and the contents of this particular video is very specific to Taylor Swift and the Eras Tour. And here it is.
You're not grieving the loss of some silly little pop star performance. You're grieving the loss of a big event that gave you joy and distraction and hope and camaraderie at a time where it feels like none of those things should be able to exist. You're grieving right now, and that's normal. Don't let anyone make you feel small or make you feel silly for being sad right now.
So like any true Swiftie, I did a little digging. This person was a legit person on IMDb, with documentary credits. But the company she said she was working for and the documentary she said she was creating did not exist. Nowhere on the internet could I find these things. So my spidey senses were tingling because we know that everything in Taylor's world is kept under wrap until it drops. There's code names and fake companies in the lot. So everything is zipped up tight. I only had one clarifying question to ask before I gave permission, which was, what is the tone of the documentary? And what is the attitude toward Taylor Swift and the attitude toward the Swiftie community? And she replied right away that it was all positive and both are painted in a very positive light. If you've ever posted anything online about Taylor Swift, you know that haters gonna hate. So I just wanted to make sure that my video was gonna be used, not in a negative way. So questions were answered. They sent this release. I signed it. They sent me a check. I told her best of luck with documentary. She's lovely, by the way. And then I heard nothing, just crickets, until The End of an Era was announced. And we all kind of knew that this was something that would be coming, but it was so cool to see this confirmation that I kind of knew this was in the cards, but I couldn't say anything. And also I didn't want to say anything publicly because number one, I didn't want to jinx it. Number two, if it was a Taylor project, I didn't want them to see me as this person who would spoil the surprise and blab to the world about this secret documentary and then yank my video out of the edit, if indeed that's what they were using it for. So I kept quiet. Episodes 1 and 2 of the docuseries dropped, nothing, but they did use fan videos. So that got my hopes up that they might use mine. Episodes 3 and 4 dropped, nothing, but the trajectory of storytelling was heading toward the final 2 episodes capturing the final shows of the Eras Tour and the end of the Eras Tour. So that's what my video was about this grief about the tour ending. So I still had my fingers crossed. The 23rd comes, and I live in the UK, so the episodes are going to drop for me at 8 a.m. But my 4-year-old had crawled into bed with me, woke me up at 3 a.m. I was a wreck. I couldn't get back to sleep. At 8 a.m., I watched episode 5 with him, which was incredible. Still nothing, still wasn't in it. So I'm okay, if I am in the next episode, I'm not gonna be able to sleep maybe for days. So I should go take a nap and then come back and watch this. Told my husband, please don't watch ahead. I want to watch it with you. He did not listen because he was too excited. So when I wake up from my nap, come down to the TV room. The TV is paused and my husband has been crying. I can tell it had been happy crying, but crying. I'm what is going on? And my 4-year-old says, I wish I had this on video. He says, Mama, you were on TV with Taylor Swift. But I misheard him. I was still half asleep. And I'm yeah, buddy, I might be on TV with Taylor Swift. And my husband says, did you hear what your son just said? He repeats it. You were on TV with Taylor Swift. So my husband rewinds it. He sits me down on the couch. And I was so mad at him for watching ahead, but also not because he got to film my reaction seeing it for the first time. And here's that reaction.
Could I be in the photo this time? Let's do the photo. Please, could you take the photo?
Apparently, when I'm very happy, I fling myself off the couch onto the floor and both laugh and cry at the same time. But anyway, that's how I made it into the documentary. That's how I found out. And I just want to say a huge thank you to Taylor and her team. Like, you have no idea what this means to me. I still haven't quite processed it yet, but I can say that it is the absolute best Christmas gift I ever could have gotten, ever. Okay, let's rewind back to the beginning of the episode and begin our recap. This is The End of an Era, episode 6. Remember this moment. We open the episode with an empty stadium with the manuscript playing over scenes of semi-trucks rolling into BC Place. And we get this kind of montage of setting up the stage. We get some newscaster voiceovers, and they say, it is the music tour that changed the industry, changed entire economies, at least temporarily. And if you ask some super Swifties, it may have even changed some lives. Now the montage is spliced with performance videos. She's at the Evermore piano. She's bowing for Karma. It's all spliced with the stage setup. And the voiceover continues. The Eras Tour has danced through sold-out stadiums in 50 cities on 5 continents, the highest-grossing tour of all time, stretching 633 days and rocketing Swift from megastar to cultural phenomenon. Now we're getting shots of the crowd cheering and Taylor performing and setting up the stage in the stadium. It is the end of an era, another newscaster says. Taylor Swift will end her record-shattering Eras Tour this weekend, and we're just one day away from Taylor Swift kicking off her final Eras Tour shows. And then the doors open from backstage to reveal the catwalk, and we get a voiceover from Taylor, "Are you ready for it?" That's when we get our title card, The End of an Era, episode 6, Remember This Moment. And if you're like me, you're crying already, just because they're playing the manuscript over this whole montage. And get your tissues ready. We've got our time markers, we're setting up for Vancouver, and we're about to learn what the entire cast, crew, family, and team members are feeling about this. Now we get some overhead shots of the stadium, and we get what will be many of these sort of chapter markers, and they use neon signs that were set up around Vancouver, and they sort of mark the different chapters of this episode. So it's very cinematic. I love how they framed this, like using existing signs around the city. So this particular one says, "Shake it off." So we know we're about to talk about shaking off all of these big emotions. The subtitle says 3 shows left, and we see Taylor hiding under this sort of half-collapsed umbrella climbing into a car. 3 left, she says, that's it. She's talking to Austin, and she says, "I don't know how I'm going to feel, but I also really don't know how other people are going to feel. But they're going to need me to respond in a way that supports however it is that they feel at any given moment. So I'm just sort of bracing myself for," and then Austin interjects. He says, "How do you feel?" Because in this whole conversation, she's been worried about everyone else. So I'm glad that Austin kind of got right to the point here. So how does she feel? She says, "I feel proud, but so ready, like so ready for this. This is the perfect ending." I can imagine here that she feels elated, but almost like so done, like just ready for this to be over. It's almost 2 years of the most like grueling, intense tour anyone has ever done. Now we're getting shots of the crew. They're inflating and installing that giant friendship bracelet that was out on the outside of BC Place. And we get a voiceover from Taylor. This show created a bonding experience for like 70,000 people all at once. I don't know how that happened. There are times when you make something so cool and you know it's cool. You're really proud of it, but you're flying into the wind. You're just always up against some friction. Now we're getting some shots of the crowd starting to form outside the stadium. The fans in costumes. There's just this happiness and joy of the Eras Tour going on. And she continues. Then there's times, these very rare instances, where you make something and the wind is at your back. Somehow, culture and timing and whatever mood there is out in the world about you that you can't control all lines up for this to go well. So Taylor is speaking in metaphors again, with the wind trying to blow you down versus the wind propelling you forward. And we can see that she really leans into these nature metaphors when she's talking about the kind of fate and destiny of it all, right? Like she had the tectonic plates metaphor in the first episode, which we're also going to hear again in the end of the episode. And then here she's using wind as another metaphor for things falling into place. But she's talking here not about the contents of the tour, which was incredible, but about all the other factors, like what the public thought of her, what politically and culturally is going on in the world. And those are things she can't control. Like they can work either for or against her. And I think in this case, the world was in a very dark place and we desperately needed joy. And that's what this tour brought to us, which is also what I'm going to talk about when my voiceover comes about midway through the episode. Now we are backstage in Vancouver, and Taylor has gotten more flowers from Travis. We knew from before he doesn't even need to sign the cards anymore. It seems like he sends her flowers before every single show. But this time he also sends an incredible letter, and she reads parts of it out loud to us. So many memories on this unbelievable tour, Travis writes to her. But my favorite one is seeing you in concert for the first time, being mesmerized and swept off my feet by a woman who doesn't even know me. I selfishly say thank you for creating this legendary tour, and to Robert for making you stop through Kansas City, Missouri. That night in KC was the beginning of meeting the love of my life. She doesn't read the rest for us. I'm surprised she even read that. Like, that's huge. That's incredibly candid for her to read a letter from her boyfriend to all of us. That's amazing. But you can tell, like, she treasures this letter. But what this clip does is tie back into the fate and karma of it all that have been ever-present themes throughout every episode. If she doesn't do the Eras Tour, she doesn't meet Travis. If she doesn't meet Travis, the sky stays onyx and not opalite. Like, you get the gist. The wind has been at her back, and it blew her into the exact right place at the right time. It's the fate of Ophelia, like, playing out before our eyes. So she puts down this letter. She says, "Oh my God, so much for no emotions on the last 3 shows, huh?" Now she's talking to her mom in the dressing room, and she says, "I feel like I'm preparing for tears in a way that's making me feel confused. Like I'm prepared for happy tears and gratitude, but I'm like, this is not supposed to bring anyone sadness, even though it's never going to happen again. So I guess it is sad. I'm getting weird jitters. They're strange." And Andrea kind of helps clarify this for her because she says, because there's an end in sight, change, it kind of messes with people. And we can see in these clips that Taylor just sort of hasn't processed it yet. Like, remember in the last episode, she said, live it, feel it, wonder about it, write about it. At this point, she's written Showgirl, as we saw in the last episode, but she hadn't written about the end of the Eras Tour yet because the end of the tour hadn't happened yet. So I do hope that in TS13, we do get to close the book on the Eras Tour in song. And as we learn in the very end of the episode, there will definitely be a TS13 to look forward to. Now Taylor is preparing the acoustic set for night 1, and she says to her mom, "This is when you requested this mashup." She starts playing Never Grow Up, which of course is about Taylor's relationship with her mom and her relationship with growing up, leaving childhood, moving into adulthood. So this is perfect for this moment because Taylor's mom has just talked about change and how it can throw you off kilter. She gets to the second verse and they both just lose it. Andrea starts crying and she says, "You can't do this to me." She's singing this incredibly emotional and nostalgic song to her mom, and the tour is ending, and the emotions are already high. And then Taylor breaks. "I can't do it either, dude." And she starts crying. It's at this moment that Austin and Scott walk in, and they're having this emotional mother-daughter moment, but it turns out Scott and Austin were watching the whole time. So now we're having a huge family emotional breakdown. They're all crying. It's good tears. It's happy tears. But it's kind of hitting them that this family tour is really over. Taylor continues playing it, and she gets to the "I have an excellent father" lyric, and we see Scott just crying proud tears, proud dad standing there watching her. And she sings "God Smiles on My Little Brother," and we see Austin in tears. It's a beautiful moment with her family. "And I had the best days with you," she goes on singing. And the song is really narrating the end of the tour for her family and like thanking her family for being there with her and doing it with her. Austin jokes, "These tickets should come with a warning." And Taylor replies, "Yeah, they should just be printed on tissues." So now we zoom over to the dancers and the band, and it seems like they've been asked to describe the Eras Tour in one word. Camila says magical. Raphael says remarkable and phenomenal. Natalie says joyous. It's a celebration of all that's happy in the world. But my favorite by far is Melanie, who is one of the background vocalists. She says, this is an unprecedented big. And to me, the best, most accurate description of the Eras Tour is that it's an unprecedented big. And not just the tour, but like Taylor's career, Taylor's impact, unprecedented big. It just describes not only the physical size of it, but like the emotional size of it, the size of the impact. I'm going to use that from now on to describe like any huge momentous life event, an unprecedented big. We hear more from the crew and the dancers and from the band about like what this has meant to them. And they all discuss this tour family, like feeling that they all have this family bond. And we get to see Wiley again, who says, we are in this together. That is what she said to us on the first day, just shaking hands, saying, hi, I'm Taylor. We are in this together. So she's created this team, this family. And we can see by now that part of what made this tour so magical was this dynamic she established between everyone who worked on the show, like making them feel that way, making them feel that they were connected. Because the fans feel that, right? Like there wasn't just one star on that stage. There were many, and we loved them all. And we loved that they were doing it. They loved each other, and it really showed, like it radiated from them that this was fun and this was family. Then we hear from Tori, and she says, this tour, this boss has made us feel seen, worthy, and like treated with the utmost respect. And at this point, it's nice to have a friend is playing over these clips of the dancers and of Taylor on stage. It's a beautiful moment where we see this bond, we feel the happiness within the whole tour family. And now we see the dancers walking into work in this sort of backstage lounge, and they all gasp as they walk into the room. And shortly we see why. Taylor has created each one of them their own Eras Tour poster with their faces where Taylor's face usually is. And it's this mosaic of photos in different colors, just like the Eras Tour poster. And it has their name and Eras Tour Dancer, where it usually says Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour. And this is such a cute surprise, but what it represents is even cooler, because it means that they are all the stars. Like, remember in an earlier episode, she said she wanted the dancers to pull focus, and she wanted the fans to feel like they just saw a whole cast of superstars on that stage. This poster is symbolic of that, putting their faces on her poster. It's a celebration of this road that they've traveled together as they head into these last 3 shows. It's very sweet. Then we get an interview with Jan Malone, as we affectionately referred to him in Tortured Poets. He's talking about being the first one out on that stage when he walks out with that huge wing behind him. And Taylor told him, like, you're going to be the first one out, so be ready. And he says he can't even describe what that was like to walk out on the stage for the first time. And he was holding back tears just because it was so beautiful to see these lights and feel the energy and the people and their excitement. And he's reflecting on the end of this tour. He's saying that, you know, after every job, you think that was the best one. But he says, but I think this one is the one. And it truly was a career-defining tour for everyone and for him. Like, he's gone on to do so many cool things, and he's really blown up since then. Jan's wife, by the way, posted a video a while ago of him returning after being on tour, and his kids just running up to him. It's so sweet. They seem like an incredible family. It's so cool to see Jan get so much love and recognition, and see all of the Eras Tour cast like go on to do such incredible things. Now we're in the huddle for Vancouver night 1, and Taylor says, you guys, this is our last first show of the weekend. For me, this is our victory lap. We did the hard shit, the scary things, the ups, the downs. We did all that. I couldn't be happier to get to play this last first night with you. It's probably the happiest I've ever been on a first night, because it's the last one. I think we can still see that Taylor's in this place of like not really knowing how to process it. But I think what she's trying to do here is also set a tone of positivity and happiness for the whole crew, because she does set the tone overall. And like framing it as joy and happiness, that's purposeful, whether she's really feeling those things inside or not. Like, she doesn't want everyone losing it, because they still have 3 more shows to do, like just as perfectly as they did the first 146. Next, we hear from Karina in the band in the huddle, and she leads them through a deep breath to calm everyone down. And then she says, I was thinking about change, because we have a big one coming up. But when I think about what change means, that's what eras are. Eras are evolutions, and they are meant to come to an end in some ways, but this will always be our era's era. And if this resonated with you, like it did with me, I think here is why. It makes change less scary. To frame it, number one, as an era, and number two is something that it's supposed to change, because that's how you grow. You can look at your life as not this series of ups and downs, but these chapters that each do something to propel the plot forward. And Taylor knows this better than anyone. And while she has more defined eras than most of us, it is helpful to look at your life like this because it's reassuring, like I'm just in my sad folklore era, or I'm in my 1989 reinvention era. Like Taylor's always sort of narrated chapters of our life for us, and her music is the book and the soundtrack. And the Eras Tour was just a big, happy celebration of all of that. We get some shots from around Vancouver, and we see another neon sign that says "Antihero." And the subtitle says 2 shows left. So we are turning the page and entering a new chapter in this episode. And Taylor says, this tour will live on as probably the pinnacle, foremost thing that I've done. I get very depressed about pop culture's obsession with youth culture. And we designate extremely young people to be the ones who have to tell us where culture is going. And then the idea that an artist had, in my case, the privilege of developing to the point where you're in your 30s and you do know yourself a little bit more. And then they were able to make the thing that they'll know you for. There's something very special about that. I found this snippet about youth and pop culture really interesting because Taylor has always had this worry about the shelf life of a pop star. She's been worried about it since The Lucky One and Nothing New from her Red era. How long will this last? Can I maintain this career when I'm nothing new, or will I be the shiny mirror ball who breaks on the floor? Her antidote to all of this has been her eras, to totally reinvent herself every 2 years with a new album and a new sound and a new look and a new attitude. So she's really reflecting on what all this means, that she's reached the height of her career at a time past the point where most pop stars have already expired, that she's had so much success nearly 20 years into her career. That's not only remarkable, it is unheard of. So what does it mean that her era's era is over? We're going to find out a little bit more as the episode goes on. She continues, this was a seismic, momentous period of time in my life, and of the performers and the crew members and anyone who this tour touched. And it's never going to happen again this way. And I think what she means when she says that this is never going to happen again, it's not that she's never going to go on tour again, because we've never say never to Taylor. Like, you never know what she's going to do. But I think what she means is the magic that this tour captured, the tectonic plates, the wind at their back, the alchemy of the Eras Tour. She might not ever be able to replicate it because of the place where she was in her life and the place where she is now and the place that we were and the world was and the place we are now. Like, you can never go back to this single period of time where everything fell into place. She can't ever replicate that because this period of time, this seismic, momentous moment, changed her forever. And through the fate and karma and destiny of it all that is woven throughout all of these episodes, she's looking back and seeing that things might never fall into place in the exact same pattern again. That power that this tour had, the chokehold that it had on pop culture, she doesn't know if she can ever replicate it, nor does she know if she wants to. It's like how a sequel is always subpar against the original. Do you leave the original as a one-off? Or do you try to replicate the magic? And if you do try to make a sequel, does it dilute the original? It's a conundrum, but I don't think this means that she's never going to tour again. And now we get to hear from Jessalyn again, who over clips of her performing on stage says, it's more than just a job. It's more than just a show. It's what we are. And the joy and the magic that happens in that space. I never want it to end. Jessalyn, neither do we. Neither do we. We don't want it to end either. Like, can you please keep doing this forever? We saw the joy and the magic that you and all of your fellow crew members had up there. Like, we see you and we're just so grateful that we got to see it while it lasted. Now we are back in the dressing room with Mama Swift and Taylor, and she's talking about doing another duet with Gracie. But this moment was really interesting because we get a close-up of the 22 hat, and Taylor has signed it on the underside of the brim. So you can't see it when she's wearing it, but the fan gets to treasure that signed hat forever, which is just so special. So she and Gracie are practicing a mashup of one of Gracie's most popular songs, I Love You, I'm Sorry, and they're mashing it up with Last Kiss. And these songs fit together so beautifully, and they're both just geeking out about how great it is. They both say they have like chills and cold sweats because they've like puzzle pieced these songs together perfectly, and it's magic. And when they finish, Taylor says she's like soaked under her sweatshirt. She's so excited. She's been pouring sweat. And this is really a testimony to the power of music. And it's so cool for me to see that it affects her playing it as much as it affects us hearing it. Like having that confirmation was pretty cool. And then we get to hear from Gracie about what all of this means, that the tour is coming to an end. The light and the joy that she has provided. There's been nothing like this cultural phenomenon in a tour ever. It's like changed people's lives. And now we're getting shots of what I'm assuming is Vancouver night 2. The crowds have arrived, they're filing in, they're trading friendship bracelets, and everyone is just so excited. And now we hear from Taylor. The people who came to see these shows wanted to have a good experience, and wanted others to have a good experience too. There's something very pure about that. And under this voiceover, we're seeing clips of the crowd and just this massive joy, like just hugging and crying and cheering. And what she's talking about here is not just the camaraderie of the tour, but the camaraderie of the Swiftie community, because there really is something unique about this fandom. And then we hear from Andrea over clips of some of the most incredible outfits we've seen on fans. And Andrea says, those fans, to see them get dressed in the way that they do, seeing them make the effort to commune with each other, to help each other, is that sense of truly connecting with each other. If you wore a cool outfit to the Eras Tour, Mama Swift probably saw you. Just know that. She saw you. Now we're seeing clips of fan reactions during the show. And Andrea goes on, I think that's the thing that's compelled people to make such a big deal out of the Eras Tour. Yes, it's a pretty freaking cool show, but do you know what else is pretty cool about it? Everybody who comes to it. We get the sense that Andrea was watching the fans more than she's watching Taylor, and she's just so proud of it and taking it all in, everything that it's become. And then Taylor says, hearing the stories about the positivity rush that people felt, talking about how they blacked out during the show and they just got this euphoric rush of joy that felt chemical. I specifically created this tour on a molecular level to make people feel that sense of escape. But to have it land like that, you're like, yes. I love these quotes, both from Taylor and her mom, because it really shows how much they had the fans in mind when they created this. Like, it was all about the fans. All of the blood, sweat, and tears, that's for the fans. And I've never seen an artist display this much thought and this much energy trying to connect with fans. And what Taylor had in mind was this sort of out-of-body experience she wanted to provide. She wanted to be this place where the energy was so high and the visuals were so magical and the songs were so powerful that when they combine, like, you're knocked over, you black out. And even if you didn't get to go, like I didn't get to go, we saw that energy. We saw that energy through the screen. We felt it. That's how far it reached. Not only the nosebleed sections, like it catapulted all the way to us at home. Like I remember Jesslyn told us that when she was going through chemo, she was on the live stream every night. It's because she wanted to feel that joy again. And it's contagious even from that far away. And that's a pretty powerful thing, the power of the Eras Tour, the power of Taylor. And now we hear from Robert of 13 Management, and we see clips of him just beaming around at the crowd. I perhaps spend more time looking at the audience than I do looking at the show, he says. It's really fulfilling, and her outreach and the fan base and the community that she's grown, what more could you ask for in a career? And he's tearing up as he says this. He's so proud of Taylor in her career, but he's also proud of himself. He's proud of what he's accomplished, and he's been with her since the beginning, since Scott Borchetta Big Machine days. So he's been here for it all, and he's watched her build, and he's helped her build this remarkable phenomenon. And to just see how grateful he is for his job, that's magic. Now, Taylor says over clips of the intro to 22, every person in that audience, hopefully, is being shaped positively in some way by something that they see or something they hear or something they feel during that 3.5 hours. Now we're leading into the significance of 22 and the hat. And she says, the 22 moment stems from a hat that I wore on the Red tour. So I wanted to really bring back that moment of kind of just having a moment with a fan where I actually get to get close to them. Like she told us before, it's about connection. She wants to connect. What's really interesting, she says, about that moment is that I never know what kid I'm going to meet. I've got people in the audience scouring the crowd for the first couple of eras, trying to find a kid who knows every single word to the songs and is having the time of their life at that show. Because that kid is basically like a representative of every kid in the crowd that night. It could be like a kid that gets really shy when all of a sudden they're seeing 60,000 people for the first time. Or it could be there are kids that just like bloom under the bright lights and they're like, oh my God, I'm a pop star now. We see some clips of the 22 hat moments over several different shows and they're all just so magical. Some of the kids just light up, dancing, screaming, can't wait for Taylor to come forward. And others are just kind of not cowering, but they're just more nervous. Like they're with their mom or they're with their dad and they're just, you can tell like this is a big moment. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to react. But no matter how they react, it's about that moment of connection. And Taylor continues, it's always so wild to be like in this moment with this person that I've never met before, this little kid, and everything's going on around us. And somehow we're able to have this moment be completely between us. We're just kind of meeting each other and everyone else kind of disappears for a second. It just reminds me why I do it. So we've heard it all now, how this tour was meticulously designed for there to be no bad seats, how she wanted to reach all the way to the nosebleeds, not with proximity, but with emotion. And here she's talking about this other type of emotional connection. And it's not just with one fan, although it's through this one fan that we all feel that connection. Like we feel proud of this kid. We feel excited for this kid. And it's really a moment of vulnerability and like humanity to see Taylor interact with a child. And that reaches all of us, even at home on our sofas. That's pretty cool. She says it reminds her of why she does it. And also from our perspective, it reminds us all over again why we love her. Now we are in Taylor's hotel room after Toronto night 2, and she's debriefing with Austin. And this is one of my favorite moments from the entire series. So Taylor says to Austin, the hat girl, the kid that got the hat, really like shook my reality. I came up to her, hug her, and she goes, is this real life? And she really was wondering. She's just said this to Austin, and Austin is staring at her wide-eyed like, wow, that's deep. For a kid, that's deep. And it just made me be like, actually, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? So what she's saying to Austin is like, is this a simulation? Like, am I just a pop star and the world's most famous person? If I take off the VR headset, like, will it end? Because that's what she's asking here. Like, she's coming up on the end of the most powerful tour of all time, in the most epic career of all time. And is it going to end? Like, not just the tour, but this life. Is it real? Because this has always been something in the back of Taylor's mind is like, how long is this massive amount of success sustainable? It's such a huge amount of success and popularity that it does feel otherworldly, like some alternative reality, because no one on earth has seen this level of stardom before. And then she created the tour, the most massive tour the world has ever seen. And that also feels like something impossible. And now that it's coming to an end, was it real? Like, did that really happen? Was it all a dream? Like, fans blacked out from Euphoria at the shows. Has Taylor blacked out, and is this all a dream? She's wondering, like, how could this possibly be? And now Snow on the Beach starts playing, which is the perfect song for this moment because it's talking about this sort of otherworldly, ethereal quality of life and love. Like, it's so beautiful, it must be fake. And we're getting some shots of Vancouver, and the subtitle says, final show. And y'all, I'm about to talk about what the end of an era means to all of us in this documentary. you're about to see my face and hear my voice, not only on this podcast, but on Disney Plus. Next to Taylor Swift. It's insane. So now we're getting a few social media clips from fans about the Eras Tour coming to an end. We are on the last day and we see a full flight of Swifties coming in for the show. We see a fan on TikTok say, if you're friends with a Swiftie, please call them and check on them and make sure they're okay today. Because today is the last day of the Eras Tour and we are in mourning. And that is the perfect video to tee up this next montage, which is really all about this collective grief that we were experiencing over the end of the tour. This tour that was so meaningful to all of us. We see another fan in this purple fringe dress. She's sort of solemnly drinking wine on the floor, having a mental breakdown, and then she's sitting in the shower totally drenched. Just hilarious, but also accurate. Then we see another fan say, I'm not ready, which, yes, same. We see another creator say, I can't believe the end is here. And we get a few more. And then we get another chapter marker using these signs around Vancouver. And this one says, delicate. Great song, but it cues up this theme of how we're all feeling fragile around this point. And I'm about to pop up on the screen and tell you why. In the next clip, you will see my goofy face pop up on the screen. And I say, don't let anyone make you feel small or make you feel silly for being sad right now. And then they use my voice as a voiceover for the next couple of clips, which I just can't believe. And I continue, you're not grieving the loss of some silly little pop star performance. You're grieving the loss of a big event that gave you joy and distraction and hope and camaraderie at a time where it feels like none of those things should be able to exist. And then I die. I fall on the floor, dead, because Taylor Swift has seen my face and heard my voice and used my voice to help tell this story of the end of an era. But what I'm getting at here, I usually say what Taylor's getting at here, but it's me this time. But what I'm getting at here is this like collective grief that we were all feeling, because at this time, just like right now, the world feels like it is falling into a burning pit of fiery dumpster fire. And the one thing we had that could make us feel better and bring us joy and give us something to look forward to was the Eras Tour. We had those tickets in the future, or we had the live stream on Friday night. And now that last scrap of hope and joy was going away. And we all felt kind of bereft. At least I was feeling that way when I made that video. And more than that, our community was about to kind of fade away. Like we all had this connection, whether in person or in the comments of the live stream, we were together because we had a reason to be together. We were united by this shared passion. And now we were all kind of going our separate ways and going back into a world that felt and still feels overwhelming and incredibly depressing. Now we're seeing clips of an empty BC Place. Before the final performance, we see Taylor climb into the car and head to the stadium, and she sighs, last day. As they're driving through the streets of Vancouver, fans are lining up on the streets, and as she waves to them, you could see tears forming in her eyes, and she's getting choked up, and she just says, oh my God. Then we hear from Andrea, I hope the fans know that this has been her giving them everything she had. Oh, Mama Swift, we knew. We knew, and we appreciated it so much. You have no idea. Taylor says, guess what day it is? And we all know what day it is, right? Like it's the last day of the Eras Tour. But just when we think she's about to say something beautiful and profound about the final performance, she rips open her jacket and she reveals this big Chiefs sweatshirt and she says, Sunday Night Football. So Travis is playing somewhere while she's doing the final shows. 2 stars at the top of their game, just poetic as hell. Then we hear from Andrea again in a voiceover. She never stops writing music, so they have more to look forward to. We all knew that she would never stop, but God, that was amazing to hear, right? Because, like, we can't have Taylor Swift retire. Not right now. It's too much. And I don't think she would ever anyway. Like, she might not tour again. She might not do as many performances as before, but I think in some way, shape, or form, she is always going to keep writing, that whether that is for herself or for others or with others or as a mentor, as a producer. I think she will always need to do this because, as we've seen throughout these 6 episodes, it's her life. Like, that's how she wants to live. But right now, Andrea says, I hope they honor that little bit of time just for her. Dude, she could take a decade off. It is so well deserved, and she never owes us anything. Not a thing. But if we've learned anything through this series, is that she just can't stop. She calls herself a passionate, hyperactive person. This is what she does. She would, of course, end up taking a little bit of time off and then popping right back up to the top of the charts with The Life of a Showgirl. Like, Taylor, girl, you gotta rest. So she arrives at the stadium, and her first question to her team is, her number one concern at the moment, you got the game on? She has to watch the game. Then we hear from her in a voiceover. I think that after this tour, it would be nice to grow back some of the things that I've had to cut out of my life. And so I'm interested in regaining some of that, because I know I used to have hobbies and like a personality outside of this tour. I can't remember what they were, but I'll let you know. She will let us know on the press tour for Showgirl. It's sourdough. She's bread girl in her time off, as it turns out. We are in the dressing room now. We're watching the game while getting ready, and Scott says, so this is your last day and we're watching football. Did you ever think it was gonna... And then Taylor interjects, I never thought that you and I would talk about sports in my life, ever. I mean, it hadn't happened by the time I was 32. And Scott jokes, I just kind of waited. And so they're just watching the game together, cheering Travis and the Chiefs on. And Scott says, this is amazing. And he's not talking about the game or the last performance of the tour. He's talking about this moment with his daughter bonding over football. That's what's amazing. And Taylor smiles and says, I know. It's such a sweet father-daughter moment. Now it's time for Taylor to start her final surprise song rehearsal, but she has to keep the game on, she says, so I can prioritize both things. Hilarious because of what we're about to see. I wish I could play this clip for you, but Disney would probably disappear me because they don't play with copyright, but I will reenact it for you. She's playing A Place in This World from debut, and it's, I'm just a girl on a mission, but I'm ready to fly. I'm not going to sing for you because I won't torture you with that, but she hits the long note and fly, and then suddenly she stops and yells, that's pass interference. And then she's playing New Romantics, but trust me, mine is better, and then get this first down, please. So now she's singing football commentary. She goes on, we need love, but all we want is danger. Throw it! We team up. Touchdown! And her dad is just laughing in the background, just cracking up. And we're all laughing on the couch at home because her brand of humor is just everything to me. I totally get it. I 100% support it. Funny Taylor is the best brand of Taylor there is. I can't believe I just sang for you. Oh God, am I going to keep that in the edit? Oh well. She says, if this goes my way, referring to the game, the kind of day I'm about to have. Taylor, you're about to have kind of an incredible day either way. But then the tone switches a little bit because now we're thinking about what comes later that day. We're about to leave the humor behind and we're going to get really sentimental. She starts playing Long Live on the piano. You know, I said, remember this moment. It's this canonical song in her catalog, and it's really the first song that she ever wrote about the magic of performing. She used to play this on the set list in the Speak Now era before TTPD was added, so bringing it back for the final show, just there's no better fit. And a lyric from this song is our episode title, Remember This Moment. So this scene is key for so many reasons. So she gets to this lyric, it was the end of a decade, but the start of an age, and Andrea pipes in, I have an idea. Instead of the end of a decade, say it was the end of an era. And Taylor goes, oh, that's a great idea. So Mama Swift, you said you don't have a creative bone in your body, but you came up with the most memorable lyric, maybe one of the most memorable moments of the entire tour. And how incredible that they caught this on film, that changing this lyric. I can't believe it. And if you're not crying by now, the screen is at least getting a little bit blurry. It is for me. She gets to the end of the mashup and she ends with the manuscript. The story isn't mine anymore. And this is the perfect last line because of what it really means. The Eras Tour isn't her story anymore. It's ours. It's our memories, our moments, what it means to us. She did it. She crafted these moments for us, but they live on in our memories just for us. It was always all for us. Like Andrea says, I hope the fans know that that was her giving her all, giving us everything. And she did. We took it. We held it. We hold on to the memories that she helped us create. It's perfect. We will remember these moments always. And so now we have this docuseries to see her moments, her memories. We get both sides of the story. And this mythology of the Eras Tour, in that way, it lives on forever. The story isn't just hers. It belongs to all of us. Now we are outside BC Place. Fans are singing Shake It Off, and the energy is high. But there's this huge sign outside the stadium that says, "Long live all the magic we made." So this sign, just like the neon sign chapter markers before, are turning the page. And we're about to get into the long live of it all, what this means to everyone involved. We go into the dressing room where the dancers are warming up and touching up makeup and crying and hugging and just being together one last time before they have to move on. And we get an interview with Karen, one of the dancers who is so cute and beautiful and articulate and talented. I just love watching her on stage. And she's talking about all of the different genres of music and movement that go on in this one single performance. And she says, it's a reminder that we're multitudes. We get to have all these different aspects of our personalities that get to come out within the show, and it helps people connect with it even more. And I think in the audience, we saw that and we felt that. We get the catharsis of the sad songs and the beautiful movements that happen during those. And then we get the energy and the release of the higher octane, like happy songs. And we get the anger and the rage of the rage songs. And we feel all of these things. And the dancers both get to feel them too and portray them to us. It does help us connect in this really beautiful way. Now we're into Taylor's dressing room, and this is just a side note, she has a funny cat sign on her door that says, "Beware, cats." Just like this chill cat in sunglasses, which like you, obviously it's not going to kill you, but it might be one of her cats in the photo. I don't know. But this is probably just means that like Taylor's cats are loose in the dressing room and just to watch out for them. But it's really cute. So Taylor's in the makeup chair. She's already looks stunning. Her hair is perfect. Her skin is perfect. She's gorgeous. And she says, "I've been preparing for the end of this for about 6 months. Every single day, I've known that we are this much closer. Like, I've been very in the moment about knowing how much closer we are getting to the end of it." So what this says to me is that she's been grieving all along. And not to get like depressing, but if you've had a loved one die over a long period of time, or even if you've had a breakup that was a long time coming, a lot of that grief happens while they're still with you. So when it finally happens, you're not in the thick of it. Like, you have some perspective because you've done a lot of the emotional work already. So I see this as similar to where Taylor is at this point. Like, she's not super emotional in a sad way because she knew this was coming and what it means for a long time. Like, she's already known that. She says, "I think the football game has kind of taken my mind off of it." And then she says, "We use the mechanisms we have at our disposal at the time." And she's talking about the distraction here, the football game. But when we zoom out, that's like all any of us could do at any given time. We use what we have when we have it, and we do the best we can. And she's about to do that on this final night. Then we see that striking red lip go on and the winged eyeliner, and suddenly she is pop star Taylor. She's transformed before our eyes. And I love this transition because we see how the girl becomes the showgirl in real time. And she says, "I've been holding my breath for 1 year and 8 months, just hoping that we'd be safe. We wouldn't be injured. No harm would come to the tour. For me, it's just overwhelming, just feeling thankful." And though it wasn't all like smooth sailing, there's been really big events that shook this tour. She's grateful that they made it. And she stands up and she says so casually, "Okay, is it time for me to get in my little outfit?" Like, is it time for me to just casually hop into one of the most iconic outfits of all time? That Lover Versace bodysuit, her little outfit. And she does. She completes this pop star transformation. It's incredible. While she's changing, we're going to hear some more from the dancers. Cam says, "Taylor's impact is limitless. She has celebrated us in our moments in such big ways that her fan base knows us by name. That does not happen for dancers." And he's right. Like, can you name any other backup dancers or backup singers anywhere? No, you can't. But you can name Cam and Wiley and Karen and Jesslyn and Jan and Camila and Natalie. Like, they're all going on in their careers with more recognition and bigger jobs and more visibility, not just because they performed on the Eras Tour, but because Taylor shone that spotlight on them and let us get to know them. Because you did that, he continues, the type of people that are showing up are of different sizes and ages and races and background experiences. And you can come to this show for 3.5 hours and feel the same. You leave it different. You leave it better. You leave it warmer. You leave it more giving, more kind, and more tolerant. That is the stuff of legend. Cam's words are so beautiful here and so poignant. And now we see Taylor in her little outfit, but she's still watching the football game. It's curtain call, but she's watching the football game. But she's got to go. So Andrea is running after her. She wants to wish her luck one last time, and Taylor just kind of shrugs it off like she's distracted. She's in her own little world, like kind of going through the motions, and she says, "I love you, bye." And she walks away, but then she kind of like snaps out of it. And she says, "Is it time, Mom? Did I do the thing?" And Andrea says, "No." Taylor says, "Here you go. Love you." Now, with this hand thing that they do is like around a corner, so we can't see exactly what it is. She either hands her mom something or they do some kind of handshake, or like she fist bumps her. It's hard to say exactly what that was, but we get the sense that this is a ritual that she has to do before each show with her mom. Some kind of superstition that they have. And Andrea says, "I love you. Have a good show." As she's walking out, all of the crew are saying things like, "One last time." And then we get a subtitle, 15 minutes until showtime, the final huddle. We see Taylor walk into the room. Everyone cheers for the boss, and she circles up. She's leading the final huddle, and she gives the final speech. She says, "I want to say that I'm constantly reminded of one of my favorite quotes, which is that everyone's jealous of what you've got. No one is jealous of what you had to do to get it." What does this remind you of? Wish list. They want that spring break that was effing lit, and then that video taken off the internet. They want it all. People want the success. They want the power. They want the recognition, but they're not willing to sacrifice to get there, because that's what it takes. Extreme sacrifice and hard work, and constantly challenging yourself to get better. That's how Taylor got where she is. And we can talk about the karma and kismet and fate of it all, but what she's learned in the life of a showgirl is that fate was in her hands the entire time. It wasn't some magic, mysterious force that propelled her here. She propelled herself here. Are there otherworldly forces that helped? Sure. The karma of it all? Yeah, of course. But the truth is that she worked her ass off. And these dancers have worked their ass off. And the band, and the crew, and Taylor's family. That's how they got this magic. There are no shortcuts. Taylor continues into part of the speech that we've seen before. We saw it in the first episode. She says, "Everyone likes to talk about phenomenons like the Eras Tour, almost as if it were pieces falling into place, into some destined accidental confluence of events that just happened, right? When I'm thinking about the people that are in this circle, I don't think about it as pieces that fell into place. I think of each of you as like tectonic plates on the earth. And the Eras Tour wasn't when all the pieces fell into place. That was just when every single one of us who had done so much work to get to where this tour was, just when we all clicked together." This is what brings us full circle. We began in episode 1 with this speech, and we are ending all of the episodes with this speech. And all that time in between, that's seeing how these tectonic plates have shifted to click into place. All the hard work, all the preparation, all the creativity, all the sacrifice, we've gotten to see what they had to do it. So we've seen both sides of the coin now, watching the Eras Tour and watching Taylor's career in real time. That was wanting what she has, but this docuseries is showing us what it took to get to where she is. So she's circling back around and telling us the full story, which is a beautiful thing. And of course she is, because she is a storyteller. She continues, "We have traveled the entire world. We've gone through America twice. We have set every attendance record in every huge stadium. We have broken every single record you can break with this tour." And then we hear her say that iconic line from the trailer that gave us chills from the first moment we heard it. "The only thing left is to close the book." They are about to close the book on their era's era, and they are all in tears as they go in for one last cheer. "I love you guys so much," she says. "Let's get out there and F shit up, F it up, 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 up." And what does that cheer remind you of? Opalite. This life will beat you up, 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 up. It's all right, you were dancing through the lightning strikes. I think that up, up, up is her homage to the team right there in that lyric. Now we see the police motorcade driving her to the venue. She hops out in those Versace sparkles one last time, and we see her climb into the cleaning cart. But I have a question for someone who knows more about this kind of thing than I do. I assumed that all of this getting ready was inside the stadium, like in the dressing room / locker rooms. Like, are they in a separate building when they're getting ready and warming up? Like, or is she in a part of the stadium and they have to drive her around to the other side, like, so she can get through without being seen? I'm confused. They're getting ready somewhere else, so, like, where is it? But if you have insight, let me know in the comments. But we see her inside the cleaning cart, and she looks incredibly nervous. Like this is all just now hitting her. She takes a deep breath. She's wide-eyed, and it is spliced with clips of the crowd and the stage. We see the clock on the screen, and then we get this overhead view of the stage, and then we go back underneath. And It's Been a Long Time Coming is playing in the stadium. And it has been a long time coming to get to this moment, the final show. She hops out of the cleaning cart, she mounts the stairs, and her whole backstage crew is just cheering her on, just celebrating her as she walks through. We see her sitting under the stage near the lift, just taking a moment before she steps out and pops up and begins the final show of the most epic tour the world has ever seen. We see all the band and the dancers getting in position, and they're all in tears. But when they get up there, when they get up to perform, just like Taylor kind of snaps into character when she performs, they're all just elated. They were crying just a second ago, but now they're waving to the fans. They're doing hard hands. Like, the energy is just there, and they're ready, and they're on. Taylor steps out onto the platform. The crowd has never been louder. And then the noise fades. And just as we think we're about to watch her pop up on the lift and appear one last time under those big fans, we cut away. We get a night shot of the stadium from the outside. This segment is just calming the big energy because they're about to show us the final surprise song set, Long Live New Year's Day and the Manuscript. She's at the piano and she begins, "I said, remember this moment." And the crowd is deafening. This is our episode title, and this is what will propel us to the finish line in these episodes thematically. We see a bunch of shots of the crowd during this set. When she sings, the crowds in the stands went wild. The stadium erupts. It's beautiful. And then she sings that changed lyric. It was the end of an era that her mom suggested, and they get even louder. Their hands are up to their faces. They're gasping. They can't believe that she made that lyric change. And it's the perfect lyric that encapsulates all of this. Now, in this montage of Taylor singing the final surprise songs, we see clips of the entire Eras Tour family. And we get shots of the band and the singer and the dancers watching from the side of the stage. And the lyric is, "You held your head like a hero on a history book page." And when we see them, it's this beautiful tribute to all of their hard work and how this tour is one for the books forever. Long live all the magic we made. The song goes on, and we see more shots of the crew just watching her in awe, celebrating all that they've done. We will be remembered. And then she goes into New Year's Day. And the lyric is, hold on to the memories that will hold on to you. And we see shots of everyone, the band, the fans, her parents, hugging one another. They're holding on to the memories. And then she sings the final line, "Now and then I reread the manuscript, but the story isn't mine anymore." Everyone we see, tears streaming down their faces, hugging, crying, trying to breathe. She stands from the piano and she takes her final surprise song bow and dives into the stage for the final time. We see the crowd in the aftermath of this final acoustic set, and we get a voiceover from Taylor. And she says, "I have very clear distinctions about being the leader of this show that's this mass exodus of emotional catharsis." And what she's getting at here is that she's the leader, but she has to conduct the emotions because she's the leader. She doesn't get to partake in the emotions. So when she says she has clear distinctions about being the leader, she's saying, I am performing, and while on stage, I don't get to have emotions about performing. but she is highly aware of what she does to the crowd and what the show as a whole does to the crowd and how heavy that would be, how heavy that is to lead. And she goes on, and we've heard this part of the quote in a previous episode too, but we hadn't heard the whole thing. What's interesting is like there's some joy in the show, but there's also a lot of like snarling, angry, bitterness, despondent, heartbroken, wistful, theatrical magic. And I think being able to feel those things and scream those lyrics, there's something that brings you joy in doing that. Here, I think she's trying to define what made this such a powerful show. But I think it's so much more than just the show for all of us. What it was is not just the contents of the songs and the performances on that stage, but it was added to the fact that these songs grew up with us. And these songs narrated our own stories. These songs found us at a time in our lives when we needed them. And as her eras changed, we changed. And the meaning of the songs, how we interpreted them, how we feel them, that changes too. So the joy that we feel in shouting these lyrics at the Eras Tour, it's part memory. It's like a massive memory reprocessing session where we can acknowledge all of these emotions and all of those past selves, and like our brain refiling all of that trauma and, you know, what she calls the snarling, angry, bitterness, heartbroken, wistful. Like it's refiling all of those things that we previously associated with this song, filing it into joy. It's like EMDR, because now we've heard these songs that were so meaningful to us and we've seen this person that is so meaningful to us, and our brain now files that under like happy, joyful memories instead of like crying in the bathtub listening to All Too Well. It's now filed under singing my lungs dry at the Eras Tour. She calls it a mass exodus of emotional catharsis, and that's exactly what it is. But it's because of what all this meant before the tour, so that when we experience it in a different way, not on our own with headphones on, but in this huge stadium with thousands of other people going through the same thing, it allows us to release all of that and like reframe it. Taylor continues, I think it's about passion, and I think it's about the show being accepting of all kinds of passion that we feel throughout our human experience. There's something so unifying about that. We see the final song being performed, Karma, and then we get a close-up of Taylor right before they're about to take their final bow. And she's just amazed, like taking all of this in, and she mouths, oh my God. And then the tears come. Only after the show is officially over, that's when she breaks. And she's crying these tears of joy and overwhelm, and she huddles up her team on stage just like they huddle backstage every night. And we get to see it. In that huddle, she hugs each and every one of the dancers and says, I love you to them. We hear more from her in a voiceover. I'm used to doing tours that are successful. I've never been a part of a phenomenon before. We see her do one last solo bow, one last wave, and then she skips off the stage with her team. Backstage, they're all hugging and crying, and Taylor says, it's history. But it wouldn't be a Taylor line if it didn't have at least two meanings. So what it is it's history. Like, it's in the past now, we're moving on. And also, we just made history. Like, we just did that. And one of the team replies exactly that. Girl, you did it. Now we see more of the aftermath of this final show. And Austin runs up to her and just gives her the biggest hug. And when her dad hugs her, he says, the Chiefs won, honey. And she just starts laughing and says, it's been such a good day. Andrea is in tears and she hugs her daughter, and now they all have champagne. They toast to the end of an era, the whole family, the whole crew. And Taylor climbs into her car one last time. We see the dancers exit on golf carts, and they're zipping through the stadium, drinking their champagne and celebrating. And we get to be with Taylor in her car. Oh my God, she says, we really did all of it. And remember the 22 hat moment earlier in the episode where the little girl was like, is this real? This is Taylor's reply to her. She finally has an answer. We really did all of it, she says. Like, it was real. It did really happen. And I can't believe it was actually real, and now it's over. Like, I conquered the mountain. I slayed the dragon, 149 shows, 3.5 hours a pop. And I had to do some calculations here because it's incredible. That's 521 hours on stage alone, not including all of the preparation it takes to get ready each time and the travel and not counting rehearsals for months and months. That's over 21 days, 24 hours a day on stage performing the Eras Tour. 3 weeks, nonstop, morning, noon, and night performing this show all over the world. That is incredible. And it was real. And then we get one last quote from Taylor, and she says, "You have to just take life, one era at a time. See what happens." The perfect last quote to sum all of this up, sum up the whole thing. And then Happiness from, once again, Evermore starts playing over a montage of all of these moments of Taylor throughout her career. But this montage is cinema. I love this last bit the most because the images on the screen are helping to narrate this song like a music video. It's basically like a music video for Happiness. And the tears start flowing again for all of us because that song is about losing something or someone that you love and trying to accept that it's really over. And like honoring the joy that you had and accepting that you will find joy again, just not in the same way. And the most crucial line in that song is, "I haven't met the new me yet." Like, I don't know what's coming next, but I will take it one era at a time. There will be grief and there will be loss and there will be joy, and you just have to roll with it. But I love all of these little details they included and like how these clips sync up with the lyrics of the song. Like one of the lines in that song is, "Showed you all my hiding spots. Like I told you all my secrets." And during that line, it's her getting into her cleaning cart, a hiding spot. And in I Was Dancing When the Music Stopped, it's a montage of her career dancing over the years. And I Can't Face Reinvention, I Haven't Met the New Me Yet. It's a montage of all of her different looks throughout all of her different eras and albums. During Haunted by the Look in My Eyes That Would Have Loved You for a Lifetime, we see her haunted eyes on the screen during Who's Afraid of Little Old Me. There'll be happiness after you, the song says, but there was happiness because of you. And we see this montage during this lyric of both the Era's performances and the crowd and her family, all of it. There was happiness because of this tour. And we'll have happiness again, just maybe not the same kind. And throughout this whole montage, each dancer, each crew member, each family member gets their own little clip. And we get to say goodbye to all of them, close out their stories in like this beautiful way. And in the final clip, it's just the instrumental part of Happiness. And it's Taylor opening her first guitar on Christmas Day when she was little. And then we cut to Taylor being handed a guitar before the Fearless set. And then she skips out of those double stage doors, and the doors close behind her, leaving us in darkness. And then we cut to an empty stadium. And we get some final subtitles that say, "On December 8th, 2024, after 149 shows in 21 countries around the world, the Eras Tour had its final curtain call. On May 30th, 2025, Taylor purchased all of her previous work, thanking her fans for their support in making it possible. On August 26, 2025, Taylor and Travis announced their engagement. On October 3rd, 2025, Taylor released her 12th studio album, The Life of a Showgirl, the biggest album of her career." And then we get a pause, but then on the screen appears "to date." So it's the biggest album to date. So we know more is coming, but she's taking it one era at a time. And the episode closes with the lights going out inside this empty stadium, symbolizing the end of an era, that it's over. That is the final episode of this docuseries, and it really is the end, and the end of the Eras Tour. And are you crying? Because I don't think I had a dry eye for more than 10 minutes in each episode. I'm just so happy that she shared this much with us, and that we got so much more of her story that we didn't know before. But what was your favorite moment in this final episode? Mine is, of course, my appearance, but there were so many beautiful cinematic moments in this episode. And I think even if this wasn't the episode I was in, I would think it would be my absolute favorite, because she's looking back not only on the tour, but over the whole story that she's been telling for decades. And she's really trying to figure out what it all means. And in the end, it's kind of a shrug. It's like, I don't know. I don't know what's coming next, but I know I want to keep doing this. This is such a great episode, and I think it really did help us process this collective grief over the tour being over. At least it did for me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you're watching this on YouTube, please remember to subscribe on podcast apps too. If you're listening on podcasts, hop over to YouTube, hit the notification bell so you won't miss my next episode that will drop in January. Right now, just like Taylor, I'm going to need a little bit of time, but I have had so much fun with you guys these last few months. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. It means everything. I will be back in a few weeks. And if there's a particular song or album you want me to cover next, please let me know in the comments.
That's it for this chapter of Swiftly Sung Stories. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please don't forget to follow, subscribe, or leave a review. It helps other Swifties find their way here. I'm Jen, and I had a marvelous time reading everything with you. See you next time.
I was in the Eras Tour documentary. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. It's surreal. It's so surreal. I still haven't processed it yet. I can't even really talk about it because I don't know what it means to me yet. I need to write about it.